So I'm with the great Australian tenor and alto saxophonist Nick Hempton. I'm in NYC at the moment. Nick is about to perform a gig in the Roxy. I got to see him the other night at Cellar Dog with his trio, which was absolutely awesome. I got to pop up and play a tune as well, which was a bit of fun. And yeah, it's been a blast since I've been here. I've talked to many different free jazz and jazz musicians, and I wanted to get an interview with Nick because I love his playing. And yeah, I wanted to ask him just about his time here, because he's not originally born and bred in NYC. It's Australia. What part of Australia did you come from?
From Sydney originally.
Sydney.
I left there when I was in my mid-20s, and then moved straight over here. I've been here ever since.
Right.
We're 25 years or so been over here.
Right, okay. And was it always kind of like maybe the type of jazz you do?
Yeah, I knew that New York was the place for me to come to. Like, I knew that the style of music that they play here, straight ahead and swing, is kind of what I'm into. So yeah. I knew this would be the place to do it. And I think of all the places you could go and hear jazz in the world, New York City is the most. If you want to play straight ahead and swing, this is the place to come.
That's definitely one of the main things I noticed since I came here. It's most venues, it is straight ahead and swing, and the level of players is just phenomenal. I guess, what would be your earliest influences, Nick? Is there any particular players that would have stood out to you on your journey at the start, when you had those little click moments and it's like, this is it, you know?
My first album, the first album I bought with my own money, was a Dexter Gordon record called Doing All Right.
Right, okay.
So CDs were expensive in Sydney back in those days, so I saved up for it and I got Doing All Right.
Yeah, how much did it cost you?
$35
wow,
for a CD at that point. And I was 15 when I started to get into jazz, so that was my first record, and that was kind of a lot of money for me in those days. So I bought the CD. I bought a poster to go along with it, Dexter Gordon on the wall.
Cool.
Listening to it. Man, I listened to that record so many times.
Wow.
And so he's been with me for my whole life. Like, I love
amazing.
He and Sonny Stitt have been my two big guys.
I feel like maybe there's a bit of your style, the way you dress as well, kind of reminds me of Dexter.
Well, I'm happy to accept that.
Yeah,
not been delivered that way, but I'll take it anyway.
It's cool, man. And as an improviser, like, what is your philosophy, I guess, when you're thinking of improvising? What is the certain aspects or ideas that come to mind? How would you describe yourself as an improviser? And you can be completely honest about that, you know?
These days, all I'm thinking, I feel like there are certain essential elements of improvising in jazz that have to be taken care of. These are time, swing feel, or whatever time you choose to play in, and a tone on the instrument, and some vocabulary. Like, these are basic parts of improvisation, which I feel I'm still working on all the time, but these now are, I like to think, in the back of my mind. Now I'm just thinking about melody. That's all I think about. Is, can I get out there and get into some kind of zone where I'm creating melodies all the time?
Yeah.
I'm not. There used to be so many years of thinking about, am I playing some cool shit, or is this some kind of pattern that's going to work over this and that?
Yeah.
I don't think about that stuff anymore. It's only melody.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm just trying to make lines that make sense.
Yeah.
And create melody.
I definitely did notice that in your playing in Cellar Dog. Definitely very melodic playing, and like, I don't want to say hooky, but like, there's like lines that you play that they would stay in your mind. They don't leave.
I do like that. I mean, the tunes that I like, when people have written compositions that I dig, have parts in it that you whistle on your way in the shower or whatever. Like, you listen to it and something sticks to you, and I think I like to create a melody that would be like a composition. I want it to be that way. Something that kind of sticks with you as you leave.
Beautiful. And I guess, who would be your main guys that you would perform with while in NYC? Who would be your main lineup? Is it generally a trio like it was the other night?
I would play with quartet when
needs be.
Well, when the budget will cover it.
Yeah.
To be honest. So these days I work with organ almost exclusively.
Right.
Didn't really mean it to work out that way, but this is the way it's worked out, that I've connected with a lot of organ players.
Yeah.
So the ideal band is organ quartet, saxophone, guitar, organ and drums.
And why not piano? Why organ over piano?
I worked with piano for many years, and I just started working with organ, and there was something about the vocabulary that we shared and the music that we're all into.
Yeah.
I just started getting into it. And,
cool.
I love it.
Awesome, man. No, I think it definitely suits your style of playing, especially on the tenor. Just hearing that mix with the organ player. Who was the organ player you had?
His name is Kyle Kohler. So
yeah,
I work
he's
with
great.
him whenever possible. He's on my last couple of records too.
Cool. And the drummer, Jason
Tiemann was playing with us. In fact, he's leading the band tonight, actually.
Okay.
Down at Django.
Very good. And do you have any new records coming up? Do you have anything planned?
I'll be making a record in Vancouver in October.
Okay, why Vancouver?
There's a club called Frankie's in Vancouver.
Okay.
There's a saxophone player out there called Corey Weeds. So he and I are doing a 2-tenor record with organ and drums. This is about just over a month away. I actually don't know what we're going to play yet, so we're still working on that one.
Right.
But that's going to happen, should come out early next year.
Very good. Cool, man. And what is the record based on? Can you develop a little bit on it?
Corey and I are into the similar saxophone players. So a lot of Sonny Stitt, a lot of Gene Ammons, Stanley Torrentine, cats like that, Hank Mobley. So we'll put together some vocabulary, a few originals, but stuff that kind of suits our tastes.
Cool, man.
But it'll be swinging us straight ahead, no doubt.
And how do you find life as a saxophonist in NYC? Do you find you're very busy, or you have to look for the work, or are you at a stage in your career now where it's just all flowing in?
I would say always looking for work.
Yeah.
Never stop doing that.
Right.
And in terms of busy or not busy, it's really goes in waves. So summertime can be a little slow in New York.
Right.
Then it'll be 6-7 gigs a week. So just
6-7 gigs a week.
Yeah, in the when it's up.
Really?
Good times. Yeah.
Wow.
But it's always hustling. Always looking for new places to play. Because you don't want to play in the same places to the same people all the time.
No.
So you've got to keep looking out for new venues, trying to put new gigs together where there's no music, and trying to get on the road as much as possible. I spend a lot of time working on putting tours together.
Right. Okay. Amazing. And where's your favorite place to tour, Nick?
I just got back from Chicago. It's funny you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Possibly my favorite town to visit.
Really?
I love it.
I heard Chicago is awesome, especially for the free jazz scene, actually.
I mean, they've got a good history of that there.
Yeah.
If you can get out there, man, worth a visit.
Really? Okay, yeah, I'll definitely check out Chicago in the future. And any particular clubs there that you like playing?
Can't go past the... I play at a place called Winton's, which is a great jazz club.
Right.
There's also a club called the Green Mill, which is a historic Chicago bar. Everybody in Chicago knows the Green Mill, and they have organ jazz there. They have 2 organs there, one behind the bar, one on the stage. Sunday nights you go there and the organ player behind the bar. It's great.
Wow.
It's a real hang, so you've got to go there.
And would you just hire a hotel when you do you just stay over there, or do you sleep in the car?
What I do is not what I would recommend for other people. Just because I like that town, I stay an extra night. So I usually go and work on a Saturday.
Cool.
I should come home on a Sunday, but I stay an extra night.
Lovely.
In a hotel.
And
spend a bit extra money, but here's some good music.
And generally, because I've heard mixed kind of answers to this question, how much would one get per gig? Let's say your gig playing standards or whatever.
But where are we talking about? In New York or
in New York?
I guess standard gig money is like $150, $200, I guess.
Per gig. Yeah, for a 2-hour slot. Would it be
3 hour probably?
3 hours. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
It's playing, trying to make a living playing gigs in this town is almost impossible. You can just do it. I'm doing it, but it's a struggle all the time.
Right. So
it doesn't pay enough to live properly, really.
Right.
If you work enough, you can make it work.
So is this your full-time job?
Yeah, this is all I do.
Amazing.
Most of my job is making phone calls and writing emails, sadly. But,
Right, okay, yeah.
But yeah, playing every night and doing that nonsense during the day.
That's amazing, man. It's great because it keeps your playing sharp, and I can tell from your playing it's super refined, you know, and developed. Is there anything you're working on now these days? What is the next evolution in your playing?
All I'm thinking about these days is, this might sound a bit weird and metaphysical, but sort of trying to keep the passageways open. Like in terms of getting up and playing solos and not getting caught up in worrying about other things, or what should I be playing, or what, just kind of keeping the passageways open. Like inspiration comes and let it flow out through the horn.
Right.
If I can keep my mind empty and open to whatever idea comes to it, that's what I'm working on.
Super man.
That's the thing.
Wow, okay, great. And what is your favorite instrument to actually play with?
To play with?
Yeah, if you had to just pick one instrument to play with for the rest of your life, in a duo.
Drums.
Yeah.
It would be drums. Yeah.
I'd be the same.
I would miss I'd miss the chordal element, but I have to drums.
You just make it up yourself. Yeah, great man. And is there any particular drummers on the scene that you haven't played with that you would like to play with?
Every night I see drummers that I would like to play with, and I'm not.
Right.
I mean, this New York City is. I moved here. A big part of it was this is drummer town. Like this is all the great drummers seem to flock here, and there's an energy with drummers that you don't really get anywhere else.
Right.
So every night I'm hearing these great drummers everywhere.
Super.
So I can't name any individuals, but
yeah, you don't have to.
There's always cats I want to play with.
Very good, man. So your gig starts at 7:30. Will that be a 3-hour gig?
We're going to do 2 1-hour sets. So this is how it works at this club. This is the Django, so it'll be 7:30 to 8:30 and 9 to 10.
Okay.
And then there's another band on after that.
Right. Yeah, so it's very busy. That's why I noticed jazz is definitely alive here, and to see that there's a demand for it as well. Like, did you find that you mentioned hustling? Like, did you find you had to go to these venues and offer your services, or is it kind of a person that knew the person?
Yeah, there's a lot of that. I mean, it works differently every club, and every venue is different. But a lot of the times, especially in New York, you get gigs by hanging out at the club. Like if you go to Smalls, you're not really going to get hired at Smalls unless they see you down there. You're hanging, you're playing the jam sessions, drinking at the bar, whatever. That's how you get into that scene. And I think aside from that, it's that I try to hang out almost every night if I can at one club or another, just because that's what I like to do.
Yeah.
But also you'll find connections that you didn't expect. Somebody you used to know as a bartender at this club is now the booking manager at this club, and they put your word in there, put your name in there somewhere. I don't know, you never know how it's going to work, but you have to be out there and talk to people.
Yeah, I noticed that. Like, definitely to be networking is a massive part of the NYC.
I hate that word, and I really try not to
I
think
don't like
about
it
that
either
way.
because it reminds me of selling CBD products or something.
It's a horrible way to think about interacting with people. Like, I'm going to talk to you because you can get something from me.
Yeah.
Like, I really hate that.
But the socializing is
because
a better word.
The jazz scene's always been about that. You always play gigs and then go and hang at somebody else's gig and talk shit about other musicians or whatever. It's like it's a big part of the deal.
Great, man. So I guess what I'm trying to figure out at the moment is, like, how would you define yourself as a saxophonist? If you were writing an email to a place, who is Nick Hempton?
Oh, that's the worst thing to ask. That kind of description, that's what journalists are for.
I know,
yeah. Come up with titles like that.
I came up with that question just on the spot.
Very good. I was very impressed. Bright future journalism.
It sounded like I had that prepared, but I didn't.
I don't know. These days I'm using a term soul jazz, which
Soul jazz.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I get that. Definitely a lot of bluesy elements to playing as well.
Not by choice really, but I just started.
R&B too.
Yeah, I would absolutely get behind that.
Right.
Just because it's a term that people seem to understand. Like if you say we're playing organ jazz or we're playing straight ahead, it's a bit too vague.
Yeah.
So if you say I work with an organ band and we play soul jazz, people seem to have some idea of what that means, and they get that sound in their minds. So to get an idea of what you do. I don't like this idea of pigeonholing everybody. We do this just so that festival bookers understand what we're trying to sell to them.
Yeah.
Because I would like to, you just want to play everything, whatever comes into your mind. But you do have to kind of come up with a niche. Or
So soul jazz, you said?
Soul jazz.
Soul jazz. Yeah, I think that I would hire that.
Well, get a festival, will you?
Yeah, I'll just tell everywhere, it's soul jazz. Might leave out jazz altogether.
Yeah, exactly. That's only hurting us.
I think, like, for me, like I said, I went to the main drag last night, which was free jazz gig, and that was the first one while I was here. And I guess I'm wondering, have you ever experimented with some free jazz yourself?
Almost not at all. I mean, I guess back in Sydney there would be.
I heard Australia is pretty good for
a little
free
bit
jazz.
more of a open scene for that kind of thing, I think.
Right.
New York, I just don't run across it. Like, it doesn't. I know, like we were talking about earlier, like a free jazz jam session. I wouldn't know where to send you. I just don't see it.
Yeah.
There's so many musicians here and so many sort of little pockets of music.
Mm.
You often don't see the other ones going on, which is a shame. I would like to hear more of that.
Yeah.
But no, I've not done much experimenting with that, I have to say.
Right. Okay. That makes sense.
I'm a fan of Albert Eiler, if that helps.
Yeah.
Listen to his records. But in terms of playing it myself, not really.
And other players that are inspiring you today, who do you listen to now? It doesn't have to be someone completely from the past, but like, is there any modern players that you're listening to?
Again, like the drums before, I'm listening to whoever's around town.
I mean like saxophonists. Like, is there any particular saxophone players that you've been listening to recently? They don't have to be from NYC. It could be anyone.
I'm struggling to think of any names right now.
That's okay. No, that's all right.
I listen to whoever's playing around town, and I listen to old records. Like, I don't. I'm back in the 50s and 60s with my record collection.
Right.
So
Okay.
That's what I'm listening to.
What I found is cool as well, because there's always gigs on every day and night, and I find being here, everything is moving quite fast. Every day is quite fast. That it's like you don't have the same amount of time to maybe reflect. I think everything is very in the moment, and it's just, you see that gig, you talk about that, and then you move on, because there's the next thing, and I really dig that, about New York. It's alive, and it's not stopping either, which is amazing.
I think that is part of the reason there is kind of a New York sound. There's a way of playing in New York, which I think has a lot to do with that constant energy and constant movement. There's no sitting around waiting for things to happen or I don't know, relaxing. There's none of that. It's it's really stressful, but there's the energy is so strong, even just on the streets of this place. I think it really influences the playing here.
Did you find it was easier when you first got here, or is it harder now?
I guess I'm much more used to it now.
Yeah.
I guess there was a little period of adjustment when I first got here, but Sydney's a pretty big city too, so it was like wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
But the number of musicians is insane, and the number of gigs around and the places to go, and the energy is.
Is there any particular moments you remember from when you first came here that kind of really inspired you? When you first arrived, was there any moments when you're like, I'm in New York, this is amazing? No,
aside from just being here and walking around the streets, I think that really knocked me out.
Right.
It still kind of does.
Yeah, it's something else.
I still find myself walking around these streets, and sometimes you just got to stop and look at it and go, wow, it's a fucking place.
Yeah.
And it has changed a lot since I got here, but there's still an element of, like, an essential part of the city is still the same.
Right.
There's still that vibrant chaos that's still there.
Right.
That never goes away.
Amazing. Well, thanks so much for everything, man. I am out of questions off the top of my head.
That was very good. I was impressed.
Thank you. I try to keep each interview different, and every time, what just comes to mind, like jazz, keep it casual and all. Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, good luck in your gig tonight, man.
Thank you. I hope you're coming over.
Yeah, I will. Thanks a lot. Did we look okay? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.